So today we're looking at some Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, 1st edition. And specifically, we're looking at something that comes from one particular paragraph right here, where it explains that a character, no matter how much of a small chance, should have some chance of escaping inevitable destruction. Just a quick disclaimer first. So I'm not planning on using any homebrew rules or special rules that have been made up specifically for accomplishing tasks or anything that's been out there made by other people. What I'm looking at are particular rules for the characters and how to survive while adventuring out of the DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, Monster Manual and the modules of the day. So these are the particular books that I'm using and trying to reference as much as possible, but keep with the rules as written as well as a little bit of rules as intended. And there might be some extrapolation, but I'll keep it to a minimum. So there are two particular defensive mechanisms for player characters adventuring, and the first one is armor class, which we've discussed previously, and the armor gives you a rating where the lower the better, but also armor is involved with encumbrance, bulk and base movement. So an unencumbered character that's got non-bulky armor can move at 12, and so on. So these come into play when the character is attempting to do something, and there are rules when they talk about, for instance, swimming, whether you've got heavy armor, bulky armor, and so on. And well and truly, particular events may occur depending on the type of armor being worn. So the base movement is an interesting stat, because as adventurers go, they need to move. Base movement is considered for running or moving at a particular speed, so the inches represent usually 10 feet per inch inside a dungeon or inside a town, and segment speed in feet. So a 9-inch movement becomes 9 feet per segment during combat, which can be very important. The base movement rate may also be used when determining other speed or distance elements. So a character might have the ability to run and jump at a particular distance based on their base movement speed. There were a number of modules made where the higher level characters were in a particular jungle and they needed to climb trees, and it was based entirely on the base movement modified by encumbrance. So this is just one of the few tools used to be able to assist the DM in working out how a player character interacts with the world around them. These aren't rules that are written anyway. These are just rules that are there, and the DM either has to find them or work out ways of making the most out of what they've got for information. The other method for keeping a character alive is the saving throw matrix. So saving throws are character defenses based on class and level, and depending on the type of attack, depends on how well they defend. Cleric at first level, paralyzation, poison and death magic, save 10, so on a 10 plus, they save. And so on. Now there is also a module where the magic user could use the save versus spells for something more like what is commonly called in today's world the Arcana check. Magic user, some of their best is at this level. Their devices being rod, staffs and wands here. See, because part of the saving throw versus these is their understanding of how the particular objects, devices work, or charms, or divine intervention, sheer hardiness, agility to avoid, and so on. Stat ability scores may be used to adjust some of these. And it's not unreasonable for a particular event to require a saving throw versus something. So the swinging blade of death, as the players walk through a door, may be a save versus this one. Avoiding pitfall could be a save versus this one, and so on. So sometimes the character wants to do something that's a little bit out of ordinary, and this is where the stats come in. So for instance, if a character needs to lift a boulder because there's something underneath it, the bend bars lift gates might be appropriate. If the character needs to knock down a door, obviously the open doors roll, but other forms of brute strength or sheer raw force may also use the same dice rolls. There's an illusionist spell where the target rolls 3d6 and has to roll underneath intelligence, which sort of indicates that there's a chance that that sort of carryings on can be used when trying to challenge a player's intelligence or the character's intelligence. Of course, we've got straight up adjustments for wisdom versus attacks that go straight after willpower or strength of will or will force and so on. And generally these are related to saving throws and their modifiers, but they also apply to other aspects as well. In dexterity, the reaction adjustment. So the reaction adjustment can be used for defenses against things like breath weapons or darts, missiles that where the players use a saving throw to defend against as opposed to just a normal armor class. And they're not always applied. You know, the DM has a bit of leeway. A room filled with poison gas, as an example, may require breath weapon checks or poison checks, but there's no defense against that in terms of reaction. But a breath weapon that sprays acid, a character could well and truly dodge out of the way, and reaction adjustment gets to be used. In terms of constitution, things like dwarves have their own charts, and you could use the hit point adjustment, but that sounds like a homebrew rule. But some of the sub-races have specifics with regards to poison and toxins using their constitution, generating a modifier of up to +4 or 5. And of course charisma. Reaction adjustment for intimidation or for inspiration. and modifiers start at a reasonably early rate. So as a DM, you need to work out how poison's going to work, because specifically how many instances of poison attacks, the result is usually death or no effect. And that could be just from the poison not injecting or whatever the rationale. Point is, make a saving throw versus poison, you save, you're fine, you fail, you die. Quite often that's the way it works, but how long until you die? And that's what the DM needs to really work out. There are many options in here as to how the DM can handle it, and what modifiers can be used, so depending on the type of creature versus what's being poisoned. There's an example in here about a hill giant almost ignoring the centipede venom, and that's something that needs to be looked at from a DM's point of view. So you might want to give a sucker an even break and decide, yeah, poison takes D3 before you die, or D3 rounds before you die, or next round, giving you that opportunity, that chance of survival if your players have slow poison or neutralized poison. Then we've got effects of magic armor, and what they don't affect against, and what they could possibly affect against. And so that's the sort of thing that, again, is situational. The DM's guide provides an example of an armor-clad, metal-clad fighter standing in a pool of water versus a blue dragon firing electricity. You would want to adjust the saving throw so that it becomes less likely they save, or increase the damage, or add particular modifiers, which is entirely possible. And the rust monster. Because over here we have saving throws for metal, cloth, glass, etc. Which again can be used as a method for working something out. So there's plenty of options for a DM to modify a roll, to use a particular system, or to find ways to give the appearance of success or failure, and giving them the chance. But pages definitely 80 and 81 are worth a read and going over in fine detail. They actually have lots of handy tips and pieces of information. Text wall, but still, it's worth the read. And remember those poisons. Okay, so we've gone through a few items here to hopefully help the Dungeon Master and some of the players with understanding how to survive in the world of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in 1st edition. And it's not all just death, 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 although there was definitely a lot of characters that didn't make it beyond 2nd and 3rd level. But the intent is that we try and actually improve and get better, and one day we get to enjoy our characters in their old age. If you've got your own homebrew ideas and what you used for your versions, I'd be happy to hear from them, so please comment and enjoy. Thank you very much.
Stop. Stay out of the light.
Let us hurry. There is nothing to fear here.
That's what scares me. Stay here.
If you insist, senor. Give him the whip. Throw me the idol. No time to argue. Throw me the idol. I throw you the whip.
Give me the whip!
Adios, senor.
Adios, Suspiro.